Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we are talking about your first Chanel bag. Now, what I do want to start with is that I'm filming this video on November 5th. Chanel just had an epic price increase 2 days ago. So now the most expensive maxi flap bag, the day has come, it has finally reached $10,000. And now, as someone who had the maxi flap on my wish list for years and years and years, it is coming to the point where I do think that that is unattainable for me at this current, area of my life. I think there are other great bags out there that I will continue to purvey. However, Chanel is still Chanel, and I do think that I love the aesthetic of them, and I know that they are going to be popular and classic forever. I like to stick to the more affordable and attainable side of luxury and especially of the pre-loved market. And there are a lot of bags out there that aren't entirely going to break the bank. You can spend under $3,000, and I do think that Chanel definitely is still going to hold a place in my heart, even though it does not currently have a place in my budget. So if you are new here, my name is Catherine. My channel is KWHSOPS. I work in the pre-loved industry, and I give you guys tips and insights and little nuggets of knowledge all about the pre-loved luxury handbag and resale market. So hopefully if you are new here, that is interesting to you. I'd love to have you back. So please be sure to subscribe and give this video a thumbs up if you like it. Please comment down below what your first Chanel bag was, if you already do have one, or what you were looking for, hoping to get as your first Chanel bag. So with that, let's get started. I'm gonna give you some to buy and some to skip. Okay, so one thing about me is that I believe that your first bag, or bags that are a mile marker in your life or in your collection, they should be items and bags that you love and keep forever. My first Chanel bag was a lambskin perforated cobalt blue wallet on chain. It is unfortunately no longer in my collection. It is actually on my list here. We're going to get into more of that beforehand, but I do think that any bags that are going to be special to you in your wardrobe should be bags that stand the test of time, that you keep forever. I have my very first bag that I ever purchased. I love it still. I still carry it, and I do think that's really important when you are looking for a first piece in your collection. And there's going to be some that I'm going to say maybe you can wait on. There are plenty more Chanel bags in your future. Every bag doesn't have to be the first one. I will give a couple of tips though for a first Chanel bag to start off with. If we're looking for new, I am of the mind that caviar is more hard wearing and more durable, more so than lambskin, so that would be something that I pick. However, I do think that lambskin definitely is durable and definitely can be used. You don't have to necessarily baby it the way a lot of people are afraid of, as long as you get it in a dark color. That's very important. There are definitely more deals out there and more availability of lambskin. It's definitely something to be careful of and be mindful of, but it should not be something that you're afraid of and just write off entirely. There's a ton of great lambskin and calfskin bags out there. They're not necessarily caviar. I love me some caviar, and I think that if you can find something that works within your budget that is available, definitely take the plunge on that if it's the right one for you. But don't be so afraid of lambskin, and as long as you intend to treat it the way it needs to be treated. So first up, we're going to talk about the classic flap. I did mention all of the classic flaps have just gone up as of a few days ago. So the medium is now $8,800. The jumbo is like $94, and the maxi is $10,000. There are still options out there that are more on the affordable side on the pre-loved market. If you are willing to make a couple of sacrifices, maybe maybe a little bit in condition, maybe one that's missing, that doesn't include the serial card, or perhaps maybe has a little bit of scuffs or scratches or something like that, it may be possible to find a bag that is in the $7,000 or less range, potentially. Right, so you cannot go wrong with the medium or the rectangular mini. I think those are both two great bags. A lot of people also talk about the square, but me personally, I don't prefer the aesthetics of the square so much. I find that the rectangular just to me feels a bit more classic. I'm not sure why that is. If you agree or disagree, comment that down below. But I just find that the lines on the rectangular size just work for me a little bit better. For something square, I would maybe want to go for like a lower brand, perhaps not Chanel, and save a whole bunch of money in the process. Personally, I'm a maxi girl. I love them, and I find that they don't necessarily keep to the same level of value as the mediums do, because the mediums have a lot more demand. But that said, the classics are called classics, and they are aptly titled. If you buy that bag, you don't ever have to buy another handbag again. But you will, and that's fine. Okay, another one that I have sung a million praises for is called the Clutch with Chain. You guys, I will not shut up about this bag because it is such a great one. It's more of like a smaller evening style. It has a shorter chain strap, and it has all the looks and feels of a classic flap at a fraction of the price and at like a different size and different aesthetic. So it is much more for the evening. It's not so much an everyday bag, although you definitely can use it as one. There may be a way to like finagle a longer chain onto it that I haven't tried out, but I imagine anything is possible if you were creative enough. I love this bag. I think this makes for a great first bag because it's timeless, it's classic, and it's not something that you're just going to use every single day necessarily. For me, and I've done a video on your first designer bag ever, which I will leave a link down below. Hopefully you guys have seen it. But I don't believe that your first bag should necessarily be the one that you use every single day. So like a baby bag, or like a GST, or even the Doville. I'm not necessarily on my list for first Chanel bags. Sure, they'd be great as third, fourth, and seventh, but I like things that are going to get used in regular rotation as a first bag, as opposed to every single day. Something that you're gonna keep much better condition for longer, because they're not, they're not going to be beater bags. Your first bag should not be a beater bag. Now, there are two styles of the clutch with chain. One thing we all know about Chanel is that they are really horrendous at naming their bags in ways that are useful to us on the consumer level. My opinion. There's two different styles. There's the style that looks like the classic flap, and there's also one that's a little bit more open. That the last time I saw the price for them, it was under $2,000. I don't know if that's still going to be the case because I haven't seen the new price for that. Hopefully I'll be able to find it, but both of these great options as first bags. So next up is the Business Affinity line. I really like this bag. I think that it is very classic. It comes in a variety of colors. It definitely also incorporates a lot the woven chain detail as well as quilting. It just seems like a really good and practical bag that can go from day to night. Again, it doesn't look to me like an everyday bag, but it could be one if you really wanted it to. It has lots of pockets, lots of organization. And I definitely think that, especially on the pre-love market, they are much more on the affordable side as opposed to the classic flap. I also make a tote style that I love. Again, that wouldn't necessarily be the first bag, but when it comes to some of the more like seasonal designs, I wanted to add some of those to not just have classic flaps up there on this list. And I think this would be a good one. I think it is classic enough, clean lines, will definitely stand the test of time a bit better than some of the others. So these are a couple that I'm not into as a first bag. They definitely, I feel like, would have a place in a collection. I'm not saying that these bags are horrible or that you shouldn't buy them, but I just don't think for me they, cut the mustard in your first Chanel bag necessarily. And first up, we're gonna talk about the one that I started my Chanel collection with, and that is the Wallet on Chain. Now, don't get me wrong, this is not a bad bag. It's just, you have to know if you are a Wallet on Chain person, and I have determined that I am not a Wallet on Chain person. It occurred to me that one of the reasons why I am not a Wallet on Chain person is because I get carded a lot. So if I'm out at a restaurant, or if I'm, out at the store trying to, buy wine or whatever, there's a 90% chance that I'm gonna get carded in the process, and I literally have to have my ID on me at all times. So to run the risk of having left it at home, to me, can't have it. I don't like not knowing not having my cards in the same spot all the time. I try to be very, very organized with that. Switching in and out of wallets is just not it for me. That's one of the many reasons why the wallet on chain. If you think that you would be okay as a wallet on chain type of girl, then it is one to consider. But I do think there are other fish in the sea. I just don't love it. We're not friends. Okay, another one that a lot of people do get as a first bag that I am not into, and that is the boy. The boy to me is just, I find it to be very overrated as a bag, especially in the small size. I feel like it gives a lot of bulk without giving a lot of capacity. Now, if I were to ever own a boy bag, it would be in the new medium size, which is one of the larger of the boy line. But just overall as a first bag, I feel like it's a little bit too trendy. And the other thing that you really want to consider is that you want something that is still going to look good after years and years of use. And for me, the boy just is not it. You guys know I work in the pre-love market, so I see these bags after, you know, they've lost a little bit of their luster and shine. And just the way that the boy is designed, it just leans itself to showing wear more quickly than in my opinion it should. I think the classic flap is designed a little bit better with a bit more structure so that it is less inclined to look as crappy over time and with, you know, hard use. The way that the boy is designed, it is a bit fussy, but also like you have to press into it in order to open it, and over time it's just gonna collapse the structure of the bag. I've seen them where they completely like lose all of that good like bottom base shape, that bottom line, and they start to sag in the middle and they just look like a mess. I love knowing that, like, I love the idea of like looking on my shelf and seeing my first bag and how my collection has changed over time and it's still looking amazing. To me, with the wrong type of use, the boy bag begins to look tired, and that, no thank you. All right, next up on bags to save until later in your Chanel collection, I'm gonna go with the Doville. And I feel like I did touch on this a little bit earlier, but the Doville giant shopper tote, it's great. And again, I would purse organizer it to death. It's just, the way the bag collapses, it's just a no for me. It's a no for me. And once again, I just think that the idea of your first one needs to be a bit more special. It's not going to be the one that you're toting around every single day, especially if you do consider, like, a lot of the time they will come in like these lighter colors that are really beautiful for spring and summer, but be careful because they will get dirty, they will get scuffed, and you may see some corner wear happen over time. They just, over years of use, especially because that bag lends itself to just be used daily, you know, again, it's just not setting yourself up for success for a first bag, in my opinion. Definitely, I think it is one that you should add to your collection if you love the style and aesthetic like I do. I have something similar. I'll show you a picture here, and I love it. I love it. It's just, I'm really glad that that was not my first bag or the first one I added to my collection. It's like a good, like, ancillary, like, addition. And that's where I think the Doville belongs. All right, so this one is gonna be really quick, really easy, really straightforward. Those little dinky, super mini things that they're trying to call bags. Now, I understand the temptation to want to buy your first Chanel item, want to like look at the things that are just so on the lower end of the budget spectrum. I get that impulse, but no. If budget is your main concern, then what I would suggest is for going to the pre-love market instead. I would rather see you guys buy something on the pre-love market for less money than buy some of these like ridiculous mini bags for like $2,000, $2,500. I really, every time I stop someone from making one of these purchases, I really feel like I'm changing lives, and it makes me feel good about this whole YouTube endeavor. Now, the point is not to buy just because you find something in a more agreeable price point. The point is to buy something that you love and to buy something that you will use and cherish for a really, really, really long time. And you and I both know these little dinky keychain things are not gonna do that. So we're gonna quickly do a rundown of a couple of materials I think that you should stay away from if this is your first bag or if you're new into the bag collecting journey. First up, I'm gonna go with Chanel tweed. While I understand that yes, Chanel is known for their tweed, it's very classic, very signature Chanel. This is not something I would necessarily like give to beginners, for lack of a better word. While I personally don't love the aesthetic of tweed, I never have. It can nick, it can pull, it can snag, it can pill, it can do all kinds of stuff. It may get dirty if you get it in one of the, if you get it in a lighter color. They're not, unless you keep it unbreathed on for the entirety of its existence in your collection, it's just eventually not going to look good anymore, and that's just not what you want for the thing that you may attach so much sentiment and value to in your heart. I know that would devastate me to see, and I don't want that for you guys. So we're gonna skip out on the tweed and the fabrics and the beading and the sequins for your first bag, because those are not meant to be worn in regular rotation so much. That's why you need some, like, I hate to refer to it as filler in your wardrobe, but those are the type of bags that you take out once in a blue moon, not necessarily your go-to night out bag. I'm also gonna say patent leather. Like, patent leather, man, if you rest it on anything, it's called color transfer. For some reason, the rubber or plastic material that is used to varnish over patent, it sucks up dye from whatever it comes in contact with. It could be sat next to a newspaper, it could be pressed up against another bag on your shelf. You could never even use the damn thing, and all of a sudden it has color transfer. It has color transfer, and that is not removable. Maybe you could like do something creative like paint over it or something, I don't know. But you know, I've seen classic flat bags in patent leather, where how do I explain this? The patent leather underneath the flap of the bag color transferred from its own self. It's self color transferred because it was touching the flap. So it color transferred under the flap. That would break my heart. Think about how much these bags cost nowadays. Imagine you spend $10,000 on a patent leather maxi and it does that. I would die. Maybe we skip the patent leather until, you know, you really find something later on in your wardrobe, in your collection that you love, that you're going to watch, like that you have the, you know, mental capacity and knowledge about to watch like a hawk for the entirety of its time in your collection. But not first. And that does speak to a couple of other general things with condition that you may want to take into account. I have tons of videos on this topic, so I will leave them linked down below. Be sure to check them out if you haven't already. Now, next up I have the Coco Handle. This is one I love aesthetically, and I do think it is classic. However, and I don't know, this is just kind of like a prediction on my part, but I don't think this one is going to stand the test of time so much. This silhouette has been done before, obviously, in decades past. It's kind of reminiscent of the Hermes Kelly and of bags like it. The iterations of this style have been done for decades and decades and decades. I can think all the way back to like maybe the 40s or 50s. So it's nothing new, and it always does cycle back, but I just do think that in the time we're in now that is so trendy, that's not where I would necessarily want to invest first Chanel bag money into, because I think that over time it may look really dated. I also too would not recommend the 19, because once again, that is the top of the pop when it comes to trendiness in today's times, and I would not want to attach once again all of my love and adoration and, you know, sentimental value, whatever, to something that is a fleeting trend. And I am not sold that something that is so like singular to a specific moment in time is going to have that same effect if you're going to still love it as much in, you know, years to come. You may, but I don't think it's worth the gamble, especially on your first bag. Actually, okay, so with the Coco Handle, another big issue for it for me is the interior capacity. Now, it looks like it kind of looks like chunky to me as a bag, like it looked like sort of the way the boy does, and that it's kind of like bulky looking, but then the interior capacity doesn't really match what it looks like it could hold aesthetically. I think that it just looks like it's a bigger bag than it actually is. While the style is very striking, and I just feel like the functionality of it is not so great. The fact that the handle stays upward, and a lot of people intend to wear it crossbody, you know, like over time, that handle just poking right up under your boob, I think that that's going to fall out of favor eventually. When you couple that with the interior capacity and just, you know, right now we're having that whole like 90s resurgence, and once this resurgence is over, we move on to the next thing. I am just not convinced that you know, that it's going to remain so relevant. And that's not to say don't ever buy the bag. I hate the bag. I would never carry one. Of course not. I think it's beautiful. But, you know, for a first bag, maybe we keep it a little bit more special, a little bit more reserved for the first shot, because you can always go back to the well. So those are my thoughts and suggestions on your first Chanel bag. Again, in the comments below, comment what was your first, or if you do not have one, what you think your first will be. If any of these tips were helpful, I'd love to hear all about that, so please comment that down below. Be sure to give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. And also, I want you to remember, this is a little KWHSOPS nugget of knowledge. When it comes to your first bag, and when it comes to any bag that you add to your wardrobe, functionality is going to be the thing that keeps a bag in regular rotation in your wardrobe and in your collection when the lust inevitably subsides. So on that note, I hope to see you guys soon. Hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in my next one.